When I travel around to do projects all around this country or internationally, the question arises, well, how do you tune into these different places, and how do you empathize and do the things I've been talking about when you're kind of coming out of nowhere? New Mexico is the place to start.
What's so interesting about Antoine is that he carries New Mexico with him. And he wasn't born here. He came here.
He came in the 1950s, came to go to what was then the engineering school, where he got into architecture. But I remember talking with him about it, and he says driving over the Sandia Mountains and looking out on this extraordinary landscape and coming into this town, it got him.
It's just so much in my system. You know, the awareness of wind direction, of sun, the importance of cultural diversity. This is a laboratory for an architect, for an artist, for anybody.
And I think for him as an architect, he spent a lot of his career just studying this landscape, studying the culture, trying to figure out what it means to live in New Mexico.
It's a personal thing with Predock. You know, I mean, he went to school here. Don Schlegel was the dean of the school, one of the first deans of the school. And he was infamous. He would tell them, get out of here, you know? And that's exactly what he said to Predock. He said, get out of here. You've got to travel. You've got to see the world. You've got to experience this. You're too good now. You've got to go.
And he was in his fourth year and doing very well. And I said, Tony, why don't you go to a good school? You've learned everything we have to offer here, and there's not much to offer.
He went away for part of his education, finished it at Columbia, worked in Boston, worked in San Francisco, traveled around Europe, but came back here to start his career.
La Luz was his first project. Some people say it was his best project. Some people would say it inspired his path.
Antoine's first work is a whole community of townhouses. It's a major project.
It was a big departure at the time in that it was a project that was on 100 acres, but all of the houses were grouped in a close proximity, in a close setting. They used indigenous materials. It's all built out of adobe that was made on site. It was just a really unique and beautiful project that got a lot of international and national acclaim.
Early Predock, really capturing and framing the palette of New Mexico and the materials and the nature of New Mexico.
So it's based on the place because it's built out of adobe, but he didn't copy the previous styles of buildings out here. And he figured out how to make something that was both very modern, very contemporary, and yet absolutely unique and specific to New Mexico. With the result that not only did he start his career with a big project, but he also started with a project that immediately brought him national attention.
And he has a direction of philosophy that is what he refers to as a sense of place.
But the process starts from a lot of research. I mean, that's an example. That collage back there is an example of my research process.
He digs down really deep, and in order to get to that place, he generates work. He does clay models, he does paper models, he tears paper, he draws. He'll do black and white charcoal drawings, he'll do pastels. I mean, whatever it takes for him to actually feel that he has captured and understood what he wants to pull out of the place where he'll be working. And then the building begins to emerge.
When he realized that he didn't want to just be a regionalist architect, so what was he really after? And he realized what he was really after was making architecture part of a place. The big break for me has always been the Rio Grande Nature Center. If you've seen it, it's a very industrial structure, concrete, steel culverts. Doesn't look very natural, and yet it's about preserving the natural conditions of the bosque down in the Rio Grande. The best view of the building is from the duck pond, but only the ducks can go there, so the people can't see the building. They're simply in the place. And that discovery on his part, that it wasn't what the building looked like, is how it was experienced, opened up a new way for him to be a New Mexican architect.
Each architect establishes a concept. Now, the great architects like Predock come up with original concepts. Architects like me copy someone else's concept. And that separates the signature architects from the regular practitioners.
In 1985, he received the Rome Prize, which is a very prestigious honor to go to Rome and study independently for a year. When he came back from Rome, he made a commitment to go after international, national work and to kind of up the ante on the work that the office had and the work that the office was going to do. The first competition we got involved with was the Fine Arts Center at Arizona State University.
And when he succeeded in that confirmed that intuition that he had. And so he started doing a whole series of competitions. And each one took him to the next level. So he went from being, branching out in the Southwest to then the United States, to then North America, to then the world. So he became internationally famous. So by the time he got the AI gold medal, he didn't get it because he was a nice local architect. He got because he was known around the world. And suddenly he realized that he could make these buildings that were poetic evocations of landscapes. So mountains and canyons and river valleys and then subterranean ruins, all these images started welling up in his mind. And that's how you get ultimately all the way up to the School of Architecture at the University of New Mexico. People look at that and say, wait a second, that's not New Mexico. Well, it's brown, but what it really is, it's the landscape. And that great facade for him is, he says it's like the Canyon de Chelly. If you've been there between the sandstone rising up on either side down to the valley, it's this cleft. And he says the whole building is like the Canyon de Chelly. And that shows you how he'd moved from La Luz, which is more literally recognized as New Mexico. Says, no, I'm really doing what it means to be in the Southwest. And before you had people, you had this landscape. What's really ancient here is the geology, and you see that.
Architecture here on the campus is something that was popularized by John Gamim called Pueblo Revival architecture. Antoine wanted to do a building that was more representative of the various processes involved in architecture.
The School of Architecture is a living classroom. He chose to expose all of kind of the behind the scenes workings so that the students would have an opportunity to see all of the elements that go into our buildings.
Technology-wise, it was the most energy efficient building that UNM has ever built. And it explored a lot of different realms that other buildings on campus had not explored. And it had this presence on Central Avenue and a presence on the university side that really draws people into the building and relates to the street and the sidewalk.
I think he thinks it's very important that by giving his collection to the University of New Mexico, he is helping the practice of architecture in New Mexico. And him giving his collection, his real legacy, will be putting in front of the students, particularly, that's what he's thinking about, the students of the University of New Mexico, look what I did. I came, I got my degree at UNM, I started my career here in New Mexico, and look where I ended up. You too can do that. You can dream much larger than John Gamim ever dreamed. And that's the real legacy. And I think because the reason why he was an architect was Don Schlegel discovering architecture at UNM. And so it was as much emotional as a rational kind of decision on his part. He wanted to give back to the university.
Antoine is one of the most intelligent and creative people that I've ever met. I mean, he's incredible. And, he's gone on to do many other things. And, I think he's slowing down a bit these days, but, what he's accomplished is unbelievable.
He's a gold medalist. He will go down in history as one of the great architects of our time.